A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to StudyIQ English. Welcome to the Hindu newspaper class for today, that is 7th February 2026. Let me quickly show you which articles shall we be analyzing for the UPSC exam today. And here is a list of 7 articles that I have selected. The first 3 articles are, as always, editorial page articles. Let's break them down in easy manner, look at some practice questions, as well as then come to the international news. Today we have multiple news items from the foreign page. So we shall be traveling to Oman. We shall be looking at Russia. We also shall be looking at Iran with special reference to the Chabahar port. So lots of global travel today. And apart from that, few editorial articles, all right? So before we talk about these articles, here's the QR code for the Telegram channel. It's all with your love and support. It's a growing community right now. And definitely, it will help us in not just doing practice questions, having PDF, material, current affairs, English improvement strategy, but soon few more exciting announcements I shall be announcing on my Telegram channel, and all these will be a 360-degree coverage of one topic at a time, in such a manner that you may not have to worry about that topic ever again, and all those topics will be the ones which are highly expected in UPSC GS paper 1. Okay, so soon I shall be talking about that. So you can definitely use this QR code here. And now, before we start with the first article, that is editorial, hop on, hop off, the state of climate governance. Talking about climate, it is GS paper 3, environment, ecology, climate adaptation. But then, before I break this article down, I must welcome my dear aspirants who have joined the class today, and therefore a very good morning. Lots of love and blessings to Bulbul, Sumed, Sitaram, Pranarithi, Utpal, Ashish, Madhav, many code names in between, Satya, Kopal, Terukula, Sadhana, Kinomi, Shakti, Shlok, Madhav. Eric is here today. Yesterday we were missing Eric. Shlok, Santosh, okay, Abhilash, Ramu is here. Then World Cricket, Aman, Swapna, Hika, Kazu. Okay, then. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Ramu. That's so kind of you. Thank you, Ashish and Sadhana and everyone here. So, as my dear aspirants, all others keep joining in. Let me then decode the first article for the day. So, bacha, do focus here. This is GS paper 3, Climate Environment Change. What is the main point of the article? Article is saying that global climate governance is not collapsing. A very good word I had taught you for collapsing in one of our classes, and that was ossification, ossifying. Ossification means a complete crumbling down, a complete destruction. Article says the global climate action is not ending here. It is not getting completely collapsed, but the priorities are changing. Priorities are moving because of politics, because of economics, finances, and because of national interest, which prevent strong climate action. It's not like countries are not interested in taking a climate action. Very good. But a committed climate action globally is eroding now because every country is looking at its own interest. Especially the blame is coming upon the developed countries, primarily America and certain countries of European Union, who have not been acting with good responsibility when it comes to a global climate action. Now, when you talk about climate structure, globally, how do you control and govern? How do you ensure a global action to mitigate climate? So, primarily in the world, the agency that is responsible behind taking climate action globally is UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It was a product of the Rio Summit. Okay, it was a product of the Rio Summit. Rio Summit back in 1992 that was held in Rio de Janeiro, South America. Under UNFCCC, there are broadly two protocols that govern global climate discourse. Which are these protocols? One is the Kyoto Protocol, and that comes from 1997. It was signed up in a place in Japan, one of the islands of Japan. That's why it's called Kyoto. Yes. The second and the most important is Paris Agreement that was signed later in 2015 in Paris. Why are they different from each other? Because when you talk about Kyoto Protocol, then Kyoto Protocol is governed. Its actions are taken by Conference of Parties known as CMP. But when you talk about Paris Agreement, the key implementing agency is CMA, Conference of Parties that take care of Paris Agreement. So let's quickly understand, Bache, what is Kyoto Protocol? Very good, Abhilash. The main difference is that Kyoto Protocol was a legally binding agreement but only on developed countries to control their carbon emission. But when you look at Paris Agreement, it is a universal agreement. It applies to all the countries legally to make sure all the countries make their nationally determined contributions and control their carbon emission to a certain percentage of GDP by 2030. Both are legally binding, Kyoto on the developed and Paris on all the countries together. Now, looking at Kyoto Protocol. Kyoto Protocol is a first of its own kind international climate treaty adopted in a place called Kyoto, Japan, 1997 under UNFCCC. Why is it so important? Because it was the first global agreement that legally, I repeat, first agreement that legally required countries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and it came into force in 2005. What are the legally binding targets here under Kyoto Protocol? Now, the problem is under Kyoto Protocol, we are only making a legal commitment on Annex 1 countries. Annex 1 countries, as Abhilash said, only developed countries. Now, these developed Annex 1 countries had to mandatorily, compulsory reduce their carbon emission. But then when you look at Paris Agreement, this is more broad. Now, therefore, under Kyoto Protocol, countries like China, countries like India, countries like Mexico, which are developing, not developed, they have no legal agreement. No legal binding. But when you look at Paris Agreement from 2015, it is a broader agreement. It was signed by UNFCCC at COP21, Conference of Parties 21. Recently in Belém, Brazil, what did we have? We have the Conference of Parties 30 that was held in the Amazon rainforest in 2025. But Paris Agreement was signed in Paris in COP, Conference of Parties 21. It is the main international framework that is legally binding on all the countries, unlike Kyoto Protocol. That is only for Annex 1 countries, Annex 1. Paris is on all the countries, developed and developing, to participate in climate action. So these are the primary legal binding agreements that force the countries to control their carbon emission. But today, there seems to be a major problem because the writer of this article says, despite these two agreements, the problem is that most of the countries are busy in hop on and hop off. What is hop on and hop off? A bus is going. You hop on the bus when you want to be in the bus. And when you think you don't want to travel anymore, you hop off the bus. This is a very discretionary attitude. It is okay if it comes to a bus ride, but it is not valid when it comes to climate protocols. Why is it a hop on and hop off behavior? Because, especially developed countries, they never openly declare their nationally determined contribution. India has declared its nationally determined contributions recently. Back it had done in 2022. Now, recently in 2025, India said, I will update my NDC. And broadly, it shall be about 45% of my GDP. Yes. But today, what other countries are doing? Well, none of the developed countries are able to adhere to their binding obligation to reach climate goals. Countries participate, but they participate it at their own convenience. A very good example is America. America withdrew from the Paris Agreement, and that's a major blow to a legally binding global treaty. How do politics, economics impact climate action? See, let's understand. Today, as President Trump is conducting his second tenure at office, he is busy in propagating the MAGA campaign. Now, he is creating a very right wing policy by making people insecure that American interests should come first. They should predominate. Why should we spend money on United Nations or say the international vaccine platform Gavi? Or why should we spend on European Union security? Or Ukraine security guarantee, or for that matter even NATO military? Why should not we keep that money for America and American people? Yes. Now these are the attitudes that are a detriment to global climate agreement. Today, politics dominates over collective action. Countries like America are prioritizing their national interest over global climate urgency. Decision making is based on consensus. Now, the biggest problem in all these United Nations agencies, apart from UNSC, because United Nations Security Council is primarily dominated by the permanent five members because all of them have a veto power. But when you look at other United Nations agencies, they are all based on democracy and collective participation. What really happens is that decision making, therefore, is based on majority agreement. It's based on consensus. It is not based on urgency. No country has a veto here. In case of, say, UNFCCC, unlike UNSC. Now, what happens? When no country has a veto and everybody's opinion matters, in a way, we are saying all countries have a veto, isn't it? All countries have an equal veto. If America withdraws, it does impact the carbon finance funding for the poor countries, and that is what undermines the quality of these agreements. Climate agreements are often about strong promises but weak implementation. Once again, the problem of culture lack. And how does economics create a delay? Because markets are always worried about short term focus. Now, if you remember, in one of the articles, we were looking at solar energy and Shanti, the new Shanti bill in India. As Eric once said, Shanti bill is an attempt to privatize, liberalize the nuclear sector. Similarly, today we are also encouraging private companies to come and participate in semiconductor manufacturing, private companies to come and do small modular and thermal salt water reactor, private companies to come and participate in solar rooftop installation. But there is a problem. Private companies are corporate companies. Private companies are only focusing upon short term profits. They will never bother about long term environmental sustainability. Future generations are not a part of UNFCCC. That means whatever decision we take today is going to impact the future of coming generations. So that means we are not acting in a sustainable manner at all. And corporations and financiers will always benefit. They will always see their benefit out of any policy. They will never invest in a technology, no matter how environmentally friendly it is. That also explains why in India right now, despite the promise of becoming zero carbon by 2070 and Viksit Bharat by 2047, if you look at India's energy landscape, we are still heavily dependent on coal, not just coal, but also the import of coal. Even China. China claims to be a leader when it comes to green energy. Yes, hydrogen mission, green ammonia, but look at the coal usage in China. It's very high because economics always is a priority over climate action. Now, another issue is citizens are not a key stakeholder in any climate action. Why? Because people are always passive recipients. Now, you and I understand the value of climate action only when a tragedy takes place. A very good example could be the flash flood in Chennai, or the complete flooding in Punjab, or Gurugram, or say Bengaluru, Mumbai, Hyderabad, which keeps happening every now and then. Sikkim, cloudburst, Uttarakhand, Himachal, disasters like flash flooding, these are common now. Why? Because citizens only understand the value of climate when they are victims of a tragedy. They are never a part of climate preventive planning. Ordinary people are always focused on employment, food, health. Climate action is not on their priority list at all, and without public pressure, without government awareness programs, people are actually not very capable of taking a strong climate action either. And therefore, what is happening today, the debate is between science and politics. If you look at science, then scientists are saying that, say, the trans Himalayan zone or the Western Ghats area or the Sundarban area, all these are very, very vulnerable to climate change in India. This was said by a report created by IUCN. Yes, the same agency that is headquartered in Gland, Switzerland. International Union for Conservation of Nature, which releases its red data or the red list on endangered flora and fauna. It said in 2025, in India, 3 regions are very susceptible to climate change: Trans-Himalaya, Sundarban, and Western Ghats. But are we doing anything to make sure that in future the risks are not happening? No, we are not doing. In fact, yesterday we are talking about the Char Dham Expressway. Trans-Himalayan region is being grilled for more infrastructure. There is commercialization. There is a heavy carbon footprint that Indian vehicular industry, Indian factories, all of them have. Hardly anybody is bothered about NGT, National Green Tribunal regulations or environmental impact assessment. Trees are being cut in the name of Great Nicobar Island. Many more such things are happening which prefer concretization over environmental protection. So, what is going on now? The real issue is politics of science. Why are we politicizing science? Science is giving inputs, but then if politics is unable to act on those inputs, then there is no point in scientific research either. Now, what happened during COP30? You all know that COP30 happened in Belém, Brazil, Amazon rainforest. And why did it happen? What were the key outcomes? The key outcomes was Muti Rao. What is Muti Rao? Muti Rao is global collective climate action. All the countries must cooperate to control climate change. Most of these measures, though, are voluntary in nature. Second, we created the common but differentiated responsibility, and India became the leader of the global south in propagating this idea. What does that mean? Every country controls climate emission on the basis of its capacity and its emission, its emission outcome. But that doesn't mean that one country should be less responsible and another should be more. Although everybody should have a different target, but the responsibility is joint. The third and the most important was Carbon Finance Fund. The developing countries, including India, very good, Kritik and Vikash, very good Shlok. India said, as a leader of Global South, that the developed countries must provide us $1.3 trillion finance by 2035 in order to move towards renewable energy. And then we had the Tropical Forest Forever Facility, TFFF. All these decisions were taken, but do you really think developed countries are going to give us that much finance? In the past, have they fulfilled their promise? So that is the problem here. Having promises is a reality. Fulfilling them is another ball game totally. And if you look at the reality of the world today, it is quite a disturbing reality. Now, for any educated and aware person, it is a disturbing reality. Now, look at the reality of emissions right now. According to a recent report of United Nations Environmental Program, global emissions right now are about 57.4 gigaton of carbon dioxide. This is the highest ever that we have seen. And the world may cross 1.5 degrees Celsius. We may increase the global temperature more than 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030. That means we have broken down the promise of Paris Agreement. Under Paris Agreement, we said that let's aim at controlling increase of global temperature between 1.5 to 2 degrees above the pre-industrial level, not more than that. But what is happening right now? Right now, we may cross 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030. That's just 4 years from now. And what is it showing? But it shows the gap between climate goals and actual emissions that are happening right now. Now, if you look at the developing countries, they need 2.4 to 3.4 trillion dollars every year for renewable energy, for mitigating climate disaster. And what kind of climate finance are we getting right now? Less than $400 billion. Do you see the gap here? I'm saying developing countries need about $3 trillion per year. And what are we getting? Less than $400 billion per year. Is that enough? Definitely not enough. So despite the COP30 promises, absolutely, the promises are not being fulfilled. There is no clarity who pays, how much, by when. Adaptation means preparing for flood, heat wave, drought, food insecurity, pandemic, storms. At COP30, leaders have said we will triple carbon finance fund. But have they given a target here? No. Can we hold them responsible? No. Do we have any clarity of what is the source of this finance? No. Do we have any binding mechanism? No. So what happens then? Adaptation cannot happen when there is the element of voluntary contribution. There has to be some legal element of ensuring a commitment. Otherwise, it will never come true. Now, another very interesting thing happened at COP30. Countries like India have promised to create another fund that is known as Loss and Damage Fund. Yes, Loss and Damage Fund. This is a fund that shall be initiated from countries like India, Brazil, and many other countries. Brazil has already given some money to it because Brazil was the host of COP30. Here, based on your capacity and based on your desire, you can keep contributing more and more money, and this fund will be utilized for disaster hit developing countries. Yes. Now, what are the other areas that have not seen any progress? Technology transfer. At a time when countries like America are focusing on MAGA, they are also becoming very conservative. Last year, in 2024, President Trump said that America is not going to share AI chip fabrication technology with other countries. And by saying other countries, he was pointing out to Russia, China, and India. He's worried that this smart, sophisticated technology is not gone to other countries for free. At the same time, when he threatens that I am pulling out of 66 United Nations agencies, it means there is no commitment of any renewable or green energy transfer from the developed to the developing countries. No plan is there. Capacity building. There's a very limited support given by developed countries to the developing countries for capacity building, for both adaptation to renewable energy, facing climate disaster. Then all these are paper principles. These are paper horses. Even if you make them run, it's not going to get you any result in reality. You have monitoring frameworks, but implementation and timelines are missing from here completely. So overall, what can we understand from this article? See, what we understand is that the writer of this article is feeling very flustered, very angry and frustrated about the fact that climate governance is facing a total monopoly of the developed countries. There is a lack of leadership. Sorry to say, but Paris Agreement is struggling and Kyoto Protocol is already a failure. UNFCCC COP is important, but it is not being seen as important by countries like America, because not just do we need a legally binding agreement, we need a legally structured agreement. So you cannot afford the attitude of hop on and hop off. Do your climate commitment when you want to and leave it when you do not want to. Well, this kind of a discretionary and mood swing based politics is not going to help us achieve our climate goals. That's what this article says. Yes, please, no spamming in the comment box. That will be very kind of you. A very good morning there, Nikam. A very good morning, Rajat. Yes, absolutely well said, Vikash. Ultimately, it's about culture lag that we are grappling with. Yes, very good. Quickly, the question. Consider the following statements regarding global climate governance. 1. The CMP is the Conference of Parties serving as the meeting of parties in Kyoto Protocol, 1997, Japan. Next, the CMA is the Conference of Parties serving as the meeting of parties in Paris Agreement, 2016. 3. Climate finance flows to developing countries currently meet the estimated annual requirement for mitigation and adaptation. And 4, the Loss and Damage Fund created under climate negotiation has already been capitalized at levels matching projected global needs. Which of these statements are valid? Let me see whether I need to call the Lokpal today or not. Very well said, Shlok. So Reshma begins answering, followed by Shlok, Madhav, Abhilash, Sumit, Saurav, Apex, Ashish, Kavish, Udit. Very good. Rajnishwar, Shinobi, Shlok. All right. Anup, Ramu. What about my dearest Terukula? What about Ramu? Diya is answering. Pranarithi. Yes. What about Bulbul? Bulbul hasn't answered. Now she has. Urapam. Okay. Hika. Good. No, Lokpal Shlok, and you're absolutely right. In fact, you deserve a round of applause from my side. So, a big round of applause from me to my dear, brilliant students. Absolutely, A is the valid answer here, Bache, because you know that the first two statements are correct, but the last two are incorrect. When you talk about the loss and damage fund, yes, it has been created from the developing countries, and slowly, developing countries will keep contributing money to that in order to mitigate climate action. But right now, the money hasn't been utilized and enough contribution hasn't even come. And look at the third one. Are the developed countries giving us enough money? Sorry, they are not. We need about $4 trillion every year. But what we are getting is about $4 billion. So that's way short of expectation, right? So very good, Eric and Sitaram and Monali. Well answered. A will be the right answer. So let's completely slip off now to the second editorial for the day. And what does this editorial talk about? It says India EU trade deal is also a strategic turning point. What do you mean by also? Also here is referring to two kind of alsos. One is because most people are presuming that it is nothing but a free trade agreement. And what do you mean by a free trade agreement? When there is a reduction in tariff and custom duties on the import and export of goods and services between two countries. But this deal with EU is more than that. It is not just an FTA. In fact, it has all the qualities to be called as a CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Second also is happening because everybody is busy talking about India's new free trade agreement with the Gulf Council, with the Gulf Countries Council. What is the Gulf Countries Council? What is the Gulf Countries Council? Yes, Reshma. Gulf Countries Council is about very few countries from the West Asian region. We spoke about it yesterday. If European Union has 27 countries, India has signed the mother of all the free trade agreements with EU into many sectors, not just goods and services. And when you look at GCC, that is also very important for India because yesterday we saw the map of all the Gulf Council countries. And you know that most of these are oil-rich countries from OPEC, except perhaps Yemen. Most of the countries in the map were a part of GCC. And why is it important? To give us oil security. If you compare it with this, then EU trade is indeed the mother of all the trade deals. Why? Why is it so important? Let's quickly analyze. Well said. Mnemonic Masters. MOAD. Okay, very good. The mother of all the trade agreements, of course. Now let's look at what the article says, Bache. Yes, Shlok, excluding Yemen. So from that, you can remember the map beautifully. This article is saying India and the 27-member European Union are now moving towards a long pending trade agreement, which is not just about trade. It is a larger strategic partnership that could change the global order. This development is about a strategic turning point between India and EU relationship. But why did the India EU breakthrough happen? Why suddenly the ties have become so strong and why are we creating an FTA? The biggest answer is India's need to diversify trade and export market. Second biggest answer, European Union's frustration with President Trump. EU is the largest transatlantic trade partner of America. For EU, America was not just the largest export market but also a key security guarantor through their common membership across NATO. Today, European Union is completely frustrated with President Trump's attitude. No kind of security guarantee, no more tariff reduction, plus repeated threats to NATO. EU has also understood that America is not a reliable trade partner. India understands that as well. So, therefore, both of them are exploring stable trade partners, and that is what has led to the new diplomacy and trust. It all started in 2016 when Prime Minister Sri Modi visited Belgium, capital Brussels. After that, India EU Leaders Summit happened in 2021. After that, both the countries have been negotiating about this free trade agreement for a very long time. Frequent summits kept happening between the two. Leadership exchanges kept on happening. India was constantly working on its domestic industries and stakeholders to improve its carbon emission. India was really trying for all these years to reduce the carbon emission of its manufacturing sector so that we can afford to sell our goods in European market. India also was negotiating with Europe to reduce their protectionist policy. And what about EU? EU leaders were also pushing their government to be more flexible when it comes to negotiating with India. Yes, when it comes to negotiating with India. Now what happens? Result is that negotiations finally are successful. With EU, we have signed the biggest ever free trade agreement. But what are the geopolitical factors here, bache? So geopolitical factors means right now we are living in a world which has too much global anxiety, too much global fear mongering. The biggest, America's trade protectionist policy. When you are saying tariff, what does tariff mean? I told you, bache, trade protectionism can happen in two ways. One, one direct tariff. When you want to stop a country from selling goods to your market, either you create a tariff barrier or you create a non-tariff barrier. The biggest example of non-tariff barrier, Sitaram, very good. Carbon border adjustment mechanism. Here you are not charging a tariff, but you are charging too much carbon tax. Yes. So today, America is already creating trade protectionism in the form of its tariffs. Plus, look at China. China is already forcing countries through either its Belt and Road Initiative or its debt trap policy. Countries like Pakistan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Italy, they have already previously experienced China's debt trap policy. China first gives you loan, makes an infrastructure, makes you a part of BRI, and slowly you become completely indebted to China, and then eventually you become like an economic colony of China, like what happened in Pakistan. And the day China understands that now this country can never repay me any loan, China silently withdraws, leaving you on the road like an orphan. Exactly what happened in the case of Pakistan. No wonder suddenly Pakistan's sentiment changed. China backstabbed, and now who's the best friend? Of course it's President Trump, and of course it's Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Yes, this is the reality. So, second dangerous thing is China's debt trap policy. Absolutely. String of pearls policy. Now, third, Russia related security problems. Russia has never said that I will withdraw from Ukraine. In fact, Russia is claiming quite openly that until I get the Donbass area, Donetsk area. What is Donbass? The basin of coal. Unless I get that from Ukraine, I am not going to withdraw from Ukraine at all. All this negative sentiment combined with the war in West Asia, enmity and hatred between Saudi Arabia, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and say Israel, the lack of understanding, then Israel, Gaza itself. All these are an Iran problem. All these are creating uncertainty. It was a perfect time for India and EU to come together. Perfect time because both of them were looking for stable partners. They found that. And why is it more than an FTA? Why am I saying it is not just an FTA, bacha? It is much more than an FTA. Here's the map of EU for you. It is more than an FTA because this deal is also into defense and security, maritime security, freedom of navigation, joint military exercise, security capacity building in the Indo-Pacific. Second, it is also about energy cooperation. Definitely energy cooperation is important. Europe needs to diversify its energy need and decarbonize. India can provide affordable and sustainable energy in the long term. Possible cooperation will be in the areas of green hydrogen. Remember the process, electrolysis and all that. Then renewable energy, resilient energy infrastructure. India has demographic dividend. So another area is people to people migration. When India has a young labor force and Europe is a graying society, naturally many more talented, skilled workers will go and they will get visa, ease. Then technology cooperation. Both are also ready to cooperate, either it's semiconductor, AI, or whether it's data governance. Now, data governance is a big area here. Why? Because in Europe, data protocols are very strict. In Europe, neither do companies easily steal consumer data, nor can they export that data for profit. But look at India. What is happening in India? Leaders of companies like WhatsApp, Meta, what were they found doing? What article did we discuss? The Competition Commission of India, NCCLAT, the Honorable Supreme Court of India, Companies like Meta are busy fighting cases in the Honorable Supreme Court where they have exercised or misused their monopoly on Indian market by forcing consumers to give their data. Take it or leave it protocol. Remember we spoke about it? But EU data protocols are not like that. They are very strict and they are thoroughly into privacy security. So therefore, if India wants to do better business with Europe, if Indian companies want to cooperate with European nations when it comes to AI, public infrastructure and data governance, we must upgrade our data privacy laws too. Very important. Now, ultimate goal is to reduce technological dependence and increase strategic autonomy. Now, this article is not saying that, but I am saying that. And I'm sure my students will relate to what I'm saying. Yes, exactly, Madhav. What I'm trying to say is that look at the situation of the world right now, bacha. Look at it like a sandwich. Can't you see China roaring and dominating in the Eastern Hemisphere? South China, East China, Indo-Pacific. Can't you see America roaring and dominating in the Western Hemisphere? Dunro Doctrine, Monroe Doctrine, Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia, Greenland, threat to NATO. What is happening in between? In between, like a sandwich, you have countries like India, you have countries of South America, you have the European Union. Now, these are the typical countries which are experiencing a threat from either side. America, not just economic monopoly, but also defense monopoly. Look at China. Naval monopoly today, economic monopolization. What do these countries do? They have to find some kind of a balance. Who will be a better stable trade partner for Europe than India and vice versa? It's a purely mutualistic deal. It's a purely symbiotic deal that they have signed across these many areas because they know you can't depend on China whether it comes to AI semiconductor. You can't depend on America when it comes to any security guarantee. And therefore, it's coming out to be a very large strategic deal for both the countries because ultimately, Europe and India both support multipolarity. They don't support unilateral monopoly. Both the countries can provide growth and security to each other. When the German Chancellor visited Gujarat recently, he said the same thing. India, you are the fourth largest economy, and Germany is the third largest. In EU, Germany is the largest, but we do not believe, like China, in being envious or jealous of each other. In fact, a growing India could be an asset for Germany, and a growing Germany will be an asset to India. There is diaspora concern as well. So this partnership can offer a perfect balance for India, which India is already trying to balance from forums like BRICS and Quad. A big round of clap for Kaushik. Yes. So how can we conclude? We can say that today, as India is trying to explore more coalition rather than rigid alliances, this trade agreement is only the beginning of probably a much deeper, comprehensive economic partnership. The partnership is a long-term interest. It's not a short-term band-aid solution to solve the problem of tariff and export. It is a much deeper integration. That's what this article says. Very good, Kings. Absolutely. Correct. So India is always doing that balancing act, whether it be against China through Quad, whether it be against America through BRICS, whether it be in the support of developing countries G20, or whether it be in the support of Chinese critical minerals monopoly, Pac Silica, whether it be to promote peace in South Asia and East Asia, ASEAN, SCO. So that balancing act is being done by India pretty well, and that's what we mean by strategic autonomy also. Yes. So a quick look at the question. Consider the following statements regarding India-European Union relations. 1. India and EU have been negotiating an FTA for more than 2 decades now. Second, the recent India-EU breakthrough. What's the breakthrough, bacha? Yes, my synonym master. Yes, Ramu, what is the breakthrough? A breakthrough is a sudden development. It is a sudden achievement. Has been influenced by geopolitical uncertainties such as protectionist trade policy, security concerns involving major powers. 3. India and EU are exploring cooperation in areas like renewable energy, green hydrogen, semiconductor, AI, and 4. Mobility of skilled workers, students, and researchers is considered an important component of deepening India-EU relationship. Which of these statements are valid? It's a big change, it's a big event. Absolutely, Shlok. So which of these are correct then? Again majority. How come there is no split verdict today? How come nobody is invoking the Lokpal power today? Suddenly everybody has become extremely intellectual, extremely nerdy. What is happening? Is the question easy, or my students are becoming brighter, touchwood, each day? So, too much breakthroughs also cause suspicion. I am getting suspicious. But a big round of applause to everyone. Honestly, brilliant performance. So, Hika, Shlok, HB, Eric, Aspirant, Sumit, Sadhana, Santosh, Abhilash, Rajneshwar, Vikash. Wow, absolutely. Reshma and Ashish, Kavish, Urapam. Excellent, excellent. Oh, was it an easy question? So, let's improve the level of questions. Let's keep the third one a little more tough. No, no, no. You don't have to, Shlok. I'm so happy you are not calling the Lokpal. Stick to this. Stick to this. I love when the majority is right. Okay, very good. D is the right answer. All these are correct. Brilliant performance. Well done. Absolutely. Well done. So proud of you. Quickly, let's proceed with the third editorial. Title is Distressing Regularity. What is distressing? Something that makes you upset, something that causes dismay, suffering, problem, pain. We are talking about that kind of regularity. Of course, we are going to talk about informal sector of the economy. Can we say it is GS paper 3? Yes, because we are looking at the informal sector of the Indian economy. And in this article, we are looking at the situation and the suffering of mining workers in India. Now, mining worker is a blue collar worker. So yes, we are looking at informal sector, but absolutely this is GS paper 2 as well, because we are looking at vulnerable components, vulnerable groups in India. After all, who are these informal workers? These informal workers are those who are typically coming from either historically neglected caste background or an EWS, or somebody who's experiencing a kind of intergenerational poverty, lack of education, socially, economically backward classes. So all these are vulnerable groups. No wonder they are doing informal sector job. So it relates with both the papers lovely in a good way. So typically we are looking at a case study here, and the case study comes from the beautiful northeastern state Meghalaya. When we were talking about Meghalaya, we were talking about the Garo Khasi Jaintia Hills. I'll show you the map. We were looking at the Garo Khasi Jaintia tribes as well. We know it is known as the abode of clouds. We also spoke about Meghalaya when I was asking you the question about 6 scheduled states in India. There are two different kinds of categories for states with tribal population, and the states which have unique tribal populations. Exclusive tribal populations are typically in 6th schedule, and among the 6 scheduled states, among Assam, Mizoram, Tripura, one is Meghalaya as well. Yes. So it is a 6th scheduled state. If it is a 6th scheduled state, that means it must be governed by autonomous district council. It is. All 6 scheduled states have autonomous district councils which govern and administer the tribal areas for them. Could this be a problem behind so many episodes of people dying mercilessly through the rat hole mining in Meghalaya? Let's understand. Very good, Reshma. Talking of society, indeed, all these tribals have a matriarchal society, matrilineal society, matrilocal society. Very good. Yes, TAC versus ADC. So, but look at the map of Meghalaya. I'll break down the issue in front of you. Look here. Look at Meghalaya. Completely sitting like a layer of cream on top of Bangladesh. Look at the boundary between Meghalaya and Bangladesh. Yes. Look how this boundary makes it more vulnerable to illegal immigration. Look at the overall location of Meghalaya on the map. Yes, we also discussed about the Mikir mountain, but that was not in Meghalaya. Okay, so let's come back. Very good, Madhav. From UPSC NCRT, we know Meghalaya is also the place for Cherrapunji and Mawsynram, places which receive the highest average annual rainfall from the southwest monsoon. Very good. Brilliant, absolutely. Brilliant. Nothing short of that. Now let's talk about the main point here. Article is arguing about illegal rat hole mining. Brilliant, Vikash and Abhilash. Now come back to this case study, bacha. We are talking about illegal rat hole mining in Meghalaya. It is continuing despite so many bans. It shows that the legal orders alone cannot stop illegal rat hole mining and livelihood problem. We don't need laws. We need stricter implementation of law added with public awareness. Again, it is a problem of culture lag. What is rat hole mining? Rat hole mining is a primitive, unsafe coal mining method. It involves when you are digging narrow tunnels into hillsides and then people actually go inside those narrow tunnels. It's very common in Meghalaya's coal belt. Why is it dangerous? Tunnels can easily collapse, landslides can happen, choking can happen. There is no engineering done to ensure the safety of these employees who are risking their life and going inside these tunnels. Although the National Green Tribunal in India has prohibited rat hole mining in Meghalaya back in 2014. I have written it in the PDF, so nothing to worry. NGT has banned rat hole mining in Meghalaya in 2014, but it continues illegally. It continues illegally. Why illegal mining continues? What are the main structural reasons behind that? Because local people have no alternative source of livelihood. In terms of industrial and infrastructural output, Meghalaya is not the state that provides too many employment opportunities to the youth. Majority of semi and unskilled rural youth do not get their sustainable income from agriculture, which leads to distress urban migration, and that leads to their dependence on income from coal mining. Small private community land ownership. Now, please remember, bacha, this is not an ordinary state. We are talking about Schedule 6 state. What happens in a Schedule 6 state? In a Schedule 6 state, like Assam, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Tripura, areas are generally administered by Autonomous District Council, ADC. Yes, very good, Eric. A big round of applause. Entire state is not governed by ADC. Certain exclusive tribal areas are governed by ADC, Autonomous District Council, but most of these tribal areas are also near forest, river valleys. They are rich in natural minerals like coal. So what happens when the administration is not being done by the state government directly? It's being done by the ADC, Autonomous District Council. Land is often owned by tribal communities or private individuals. The land does not belong to the government. This is different from most of the other states in India where the subsoil mineral rights are controlled by the states. Okay, very important. In other states, what happens? The subsoil mineral rights are controlled by the state government. I repeat, the state government. But in the case of Schedule 6 states with ADCs, what happens? Either tribal communities or tribal groups are owning these areas, and now how will you control mining here? In Meghalaya especially, coal deposits are lying under community or privately owned land. This makes enforcement of mining rules very complicated. So complicated that it becomes a social issue, cultural issue, more than only a legal issue. Another reason why this illegal mining continues is because of weak enforcement. Illegal coal mixing into the legal supply chain. Now, the biggest problem is that illegal coal is mined and then it is sold in the market along with the legally mined coal that is happening in official coal belt by government's approval. At the end, who will identify which coal is illegal or which is illegal? Same question I asked from all my dear students when I was talking about. So many students were asking me. There was a point where I was getting constant emails about the fact that, ma'am, we don't understand this illogical controversy that European Union and America have put sanctions on Russian oil. But then why? So many European Union countries, whether it's Romania, whether it's, Moldova, or whether it's countries like, Czech or any other country, why do they continue to purchase petroleum products from Russia? It is banned, right? Same thing I said that time. Once the oil is mined from the land, once the oil is taken from the land and it is mined, and then it becomes a part of global supply chain, how will you identify which area the oil came from? How will you come to know that which petroleum product, which refined petroleum product has used which oil as its source? Ural or bent crude or Texas? How will you know? You will not know, right? Same thing is happening here. Coal gets mixed up. So it is very difficult to understand which is legal, which is illegal. And then another problem is the informal labor market. Now, you and I might talk about the Social Security Code. Yes, we should talk about the four labor laws, but the problem is in the informal sector, when an accident happens, majority of times it's not even reported to the government. It is not reported to people. Accidents are deliberately understated so that their business is not closing down. And in Meghalaya, it's a big problem because majority of land is community ownership land. So it is a cultural issue. How much can the state government control that? So what does the article say as the key argument? It says not only is controlling rat mining operationally tough, the only solution of stopping it is to make it socially expensive. Such a beautiful word used by the article. I want to write it here. Article says the only solution of stopping this problem is not by passing laws, is not by enforcing NGT regulation, it is by making illegal rat hole mining socially expensive. Very beautiful word. What is socially expensive, bache? Socially expensive means socially unacceptable. Let people not accept it, even those who come from poor backgrounds. Only if they could understand the health and the life risk that is associated, it becomes socially expensive. So change should not be on paper, culture lag. The change has to come from the mindset of people. It means, how can you make it socially expensive? Increase the cost of illegal mining. Increase the cost of illegal mining. That's one thing you can do. Second, make punishment stronger in cases it is found. Stop those companies from getting license or punish them or put them in jail. Tax them heavily. And community monitoring. If these lands are owned by tribal leaders, tribal groups, then tribal leaders can be the best source of monitoring that these things don't happen. Is there a solution? Yes. It's a multi-dimensional solution. Multi-dimensional. Many solutions are there. One, GPS tracking of coal transport. Satellite and drone monitoring of how illegal coal is mixing up with legal coal in supply chain. Route verification of coal consignments, that we know which consignment of legally mined coal passes through which route, and it should be monitored by drone and GPS. Otherwise, where is the beauty of science here? It's not there. Action against intermediaries, seizing illegal coal, cancel license of such small companies, blacklisting such contractors, prosecuting them with strict punishment. They are breaking down two main articles of the Indian Constitution. Article 21, the right to life. Article 23, you cannot traffic human labor into a dangerous industry like that. Let alone you are acting against established labor code of 2019 against occupational safety. We must also promote alternative livelihoods, horticulture, tourism, small manufacturing, construction work, tribal products, forest products. Public employment programs need to be implemented in a stronger way. Rotate government officers in mining hotspots to reduce the chances of corruption. Do continuous audits and keep updating these audits and reduce administrative tolerance of such crimes if we value human life. That we should. Article 14, right to equality. And if we have any value to human life, then rat hole mining is not just about a lack of enforcement, it is dehumanizing every bit. Every bit dehumanizing. Definitely, they can declare it forced labor or beggary under Article 23. Absolutely. Absolutely. What is the other source of livelihood? Well, we need to create them. Livelihoods will not come from nature. Not everybody can live off agriculture. Not everybody can live off minor forest products like most tribals do. Livelihood is something to be created. We talk about Skill India Mission. You talk about PM Vishwakarma. You talk about national education policy. You say we must skill our youth in order to make them self-employed. Why not in the case of Schedule 6 areas? Why? There is tremendous talent and tremendous demographic dividend along with natural resources. Why are they not able to do something concrete, productive? There is no market linkage. There is often crime and, communal violence. There is often isolation. So isolation will never lead to economic growth at all. Yes, so it is responsibility of the government indeed, as well as tribal leaders can also take initiative by reaching out to the government. spreading a bigger agenda on education. At least something like online education or part-time jobs needs to be propagated. Else, why would somebody go and kill themselves in a rat hole mine? It's so dehumanizing to think of. Yes. Quickly, the question with reference to coal mining in Meghalaya and the governance of mineral resources in sixth schedule. This should be a tricky question. If this also needs no Lokpal, then I'm speechless. With reference to coal mining in Meghalaya and the governance of minerals in Schedule 6 areas, look at these statements. 1. In 6 schedule areas, community and private land ownership patterns complicate the regulation of mining by the state government. 2. National Green Tribunal's ban on rat hole mining applies irrespective of whether the land is privately owned or community owned. 3. Autonomous district council under 6th schedule have no role in regulating mineral resources within their jurisdiction. Now, this is a good question. And everybody says that the answer is A. That means 1 and 2 are correct and 3rd is not. Which could be the right answer then? Yes, Shlok is highly inspired by CSAT rules. Is that the final verdict? Sadhna Rajnishwar, Ramcharan Pranarathi, Abhilash, Diya, Reshma, Terukula, Vikash. Is that the final answer, Madhav? Sure? Anup Santosh? Yes? 100% is that the right answer? Is first statement correct? In Schedule 6 areas, community and private land ownership patterns can complicate the regulation of mining activities by state government. First is totally correct. Second, B cannot be right. Second, NGT has banned in 2014 rat hole mining, but does it apply? Irrespective of whether the land is privately owned or community owned, does it apply? Now confusion is coming. B, D, C. As soon as I thought Lokpal is not going to come, here comes Lokpal. So Lokpal is here. Sorry to say, don't be too happy. Split verdict has already happened. Third is correct. Autonomous district council under 6th schedule have no role in regulating mineral resources in their jurisdiction. They have. It is wrong. Third is wrong. Third is wrong. Then which should be the valid answer? Then A has to be the valid answer. But some Lokpalness happened today. Some Lokpalization did happen today. So we can say the first two statements are correct. The third is not correct. So which means A is the valid answer. Yes. Correct. Also, people are saying I am the one who really breaks your confidence. But exam will also do the same. Nobody is going to pamper you in the exam. So have that confidence. If you are right, you are right. Nothing in the world can say you're wrong. Because you are answering using logic. And if you have answered using your logic and all the facts, you can't be wrong. Yes, definitely in interview also. They will try to confuse you. They will try to trap you. Where's your confidence? If you are right, you are right. A is the right answer. Absolutely. Very well answered, Eric. Apex Reshma. Well done, bache. Well done. Well done. Very well done. Great job there. Okay. Now quickly let's proceed with last 2-3 articles. Very short and very interesting ones. But we have to travel. No, I told you. Now let's travel quickly. Yes. Yes. No trapping. Utmost confidence. Prelims is a game of confidence, bache. Prelims is a game of confidence. In mains, even if you are a little less confident, it's okay. It's okay because you have time and it's a passive paper. You'll anyway think and brainstorm. Prelims is challenging, especially GS1, CSAT also. There it's a game of confidence. If you keep second guessing your answers, you'll never complete the paper. Okay. So if you are based on facts, you are right. All statements are confusing. Be confident. Very confident. Statement number 1. So aspirant, I'll quickly go back. Aspirant has a doubt here. But 6 schedule areas. See what is happening. You know na, 6 schedule is AMTM states. Now all these are tribal states, right? Majority of the areas in these states are controlled by tribal. What Eric was saying right now. Not the whole state. Most of the scheduled areas are controlled by tribal groups. Therefore, we have made ADC for them so that they can represent their own administration. So, what happens? Land ownership or asset ownership, all of these are owned by tribal groups themselves, and tribal leaders are a part of these ADCs. Now, if land is owned by tribals, is it easy for the state government to come and keep making rules on that? Is it easy for the government to keep going inside and monitoring whether no rat hole mining is happening, whether any illegal thing is happening? It's possible, but it's very tough, right? That's why statement one is correct. This complicates the implementation of ban on illegal things like rat hole mining. I hope it's clear to everyone. Yes, they have a distinct culture and tradition. Very good. Yes, A means A, even if you think you are wrong. Very good, Shlok. Stick on your verdict. Even in the interview, sometimes it's not like the interview is not happy with what you're answering, but they just want to check your confidence level. They may ask you, you think which is a bigger threat to the world today? US or China? They could ask you, US or China? They could ask you, right, in interview tomorrow. What will you do? Now you are so worried. If I say America, I look like I'm a very monopoly and I'm supporting a leader who's monopolistic. If I support China, it means that I am somebody who supports some country that is trying to illegally capture anything and breaking UNCLOS. So there comes balance. But they may again ask, Acha, you are saying both are invalid. Why do you say both are not correct? Why? Why do you say, and if you say countries like India, they have a better policy, then they might say something like, but India is also having problems, then why are you saying? And immediately you will feel, oh my God, maybe I said the wrong thing. Again and again, they are asking me. So they are not re-questioning you because they are not happy, because they really want to see whether you can stick on your stand or not. So same thing is in Prelims, stick on your stand. Be there. If you think it's right and you've used logic, it has to be correct then. No here, no there. No. No, Akhtar. Good question. It is not a part of sixth schedule. Bacha, learn this mnemonic. AMTM states. I learned like that. AMTM. Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. Apart from that, no. None other is sixth. All of them are then fifth schedule. Is that clear? Yes? Very good. Wonderful, Eric. Now let's quickly proceed with the next article. Yes. Enough confidence building now. Let's proceed with this article. Very good, Vikash. Yes, we are going to talk about Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, CTBT, and we are talking about the New START Treaty. Focus now. GS Paper 3. Science, Nuclear Energy. What is going on? Yesterday we saw Russia and America. They have a treaty between them, signed as long back as 2010-2012. This is called the New START Treaty. The New START Treaty. New START Treaty is a strategic arms reduction treaty that was signed between US and Russia back in 2010. Why was this treaty signed? What is this all about? This treaty limits both America and Russia at 1550 deployed nuclear warheads. They cannot exceed the number of nuclear weapons. It is the first treaty that prohibits nuclear proliferation between both these leaders after the Cold War period. Apart from this, there is no other major treaty limiting nuclear weapons between Russia and America. This is the only one. But this is now expiring today. In February 2026, it expires. The treaty is very crucial because the treaty mandates verification and transparency measures. It is the last remaining major nuclear control treaty between these two countries. It is expiring. Are we trying to revive it, strengthen it, expand it? No. Russia has shown interest, but President Trump has shown no interest right now. If the treaty expires, what happens? And why is it expiring? Because America says Russia has broken down the laws. America says Russia violates the commitments of nuclear, this New START treaty. America says Russia has never respected the limitations and Russia has always continued to attack Ukraine in whichever manner it wants to. Plus, America also says China is not a part of that treaty, but China's nuclear power is growing day by day. So we must have another treaty, which is now a tripartite treaty. Tripartite, trio, Russia, America, China. All these three are important because now America feels time has come for a broader nuclear weapons control framework. So what is the new global politics about nuclear weapons all about? America today says, let's have a new treaty. Rather than extending this one, let's have a new treaty. Let's have China on board as well. But what does China say? China is China. China being China, China refuses. China says, my nuclear power is very small as compared to you people. More than me, Iran has. Go, call Iran. But will President Trump call Iran? No. President Trump already walked out of the JCPOA, the agreement under which Iran had promised to control its nuclear enrichment. President Trump kicked it away. Now he is anyway ready to attack Iran. He will never call Iran. Can anybody negotiate with North Korea? At least somebody who wants to live will never negotiate. So therefore he says, let's call China. But China says, I don't have nuclear weapons. Mine are very small. Don't involve me. So Russia wants other nuclear countries also to be included, like France, United Kingdom. But what is happening right now? Right now, this shows disagreement among nuclear powers themselves. Whom to involve, whom to avoid. So what is going on? If agreement is not possible, how will you create a new treaty or extend the life of this one? Why is this article so crucial for your exam? It is important because we must also know what's the difference between nuclear non-proliferation treaty and comprehensive test ban treaty, CTBT, and today the New START treaty. Let's understand. As this New START treaty between these two countries is expiring, the world may now enter a new nuclear arms race. It is going to be very dangerous because Pakistan is also a nuclear power, and Pakistan has already started supplying weapons to countries like Uganda, Libya. Pakistan has already signed a strategic mutual defense agreement with Saudi. Pakistan may want to share nuclear technology with Saudi. Pakistan gets American support. So right now it's a dangerous world. Unless a new treaty comes, there will be no transparency and upper limit on the number of weapons, and then each country will try to outpace the other by making more advanced weapons. Like right now, we don't know how much nuclear capacity does Israel have. Israel is not a part of NPT or any other treaty. We don't know. Even after destruction, how much nuclear enrichment is Iran doing actually through its facilities like Fardau, Ashfaya, all of that. So what is going on right now? If the global arms treaty fractures, yes, we will be in a much unsafer world with a higher risk of proliferation. But what is, yes, just like the space race, but what's the big difference between NPT, START, the New START, and CTBT? Now, this is a little important. Let me summarize. Now, talking about the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, bacha, this was signed in 1968. 1968, and it came into force in 1970. Okay, in 1970 it came into force. It is a global treaty. What is the aim? To stop the spread of nuclear weapons. Under this treaty, it's very clear now. Never ever forget, and you will never be confused after listening to this. So please, all attention for 2 minutes. Listen. Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty 1970 says any country that has tested nuclear weapon before 1st January, before 1st January 1967 will be qualified as a nuclear state. Those who have tested their weapons before this time period, 1st Jan 1967, but those who have not tested until this time are not nuclear states. That means it creates a discrimination between nuclear weapon states and non-nuclear weapon states, NWS and NNWS. So who are the nuclear weapon states? These are US. Who are these? US. Then UK. Then France. Then Russia and China. All these are the NWS under NPT because they tested weapons before 1967. Ours was much later, Shlok, yes? So therefore, yeah, P5 countries, very good, Reshma Bache. Absolutely. Most of them are P5, not all, most of them. And China, of course. Can't forget China. How can you forget China? Now, China I have written already. China. Yes, P5 countries. Absolutely, Reshma. Brilliant observation. These are the countries who are nuclear weapon states and they can have nuclear weapons, but others will not have because others haven't tested before 1967, so others are not. And why is India not a part of NPT? Somebody said India is not a part. Very right. India is not a part of this. Why is India not a part of this? Because India feels it is discriminatory. India feels it is discriminatory. How can you distinguish between P5 and how can you distinguish between NWS and NNWS only on the basis of one date criteria? You can't. That means only countries which had developed technologies have a right to become nuclear power. Very unfair. So India doesn't support it. Okay. Now, nuclear states have nuclear power, but the non-nuclear states, now listen carefully, non-nuclear states will have to promise that they will not develop nuclear weapons. While the nuclear states will promise that in long term, they will use nuclear energy for peaceful purpose. Very discriminatory. So India is not a part of it. India is not a part of it. Now, therefore, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea are also not a part of it. They also withdrew. Okay. So let me quickly write down. India is not a part of it. India finds it very discriminatory. And along with India, Pakistan, North Korea. Who wants to travel to North Korea? Anybody wants to travel? Should we arrange a visa? So those who will not study properly and not take classes, I will deport them to North Korea now. So Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel. All these are not a part of NPT. Is it clear? Is it clear? P5 is the permanent group at United Nations Security Council. Those who have the veto power. Yes? Yes? Yes. Now can we proceed with the CTBT? Is NPT clear to everyone? From now onwards, nobody will be confused on NPT. Yes, AB, Shlok, Reshma, can we now go to CTBT? Focus, bacha, what is CTBT? CTBT is Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. And when was it signed? Much later. It was signed in 1996. What's the aim? To completely ban, I repeat, to completely ban all nuclear test explosions. Banned completely. It prohibits. Now, these are two things nobody should forget. I will ask you. And those who will not answer, you know what I will do. Straight visa to North Korea. So listen carefully. 1996 CTBT was signed. It totally prohibits any kind of nuclear weapon for military nuclear test or for peaceful purposes either. So it's a total ban, okay? That's the difference between NPT and CTBT, but I remember that, okay? So no nuclear weapon either for making arms or even for peaceful purpose. You can't use it. You can't use it. So it's a total ban on both these. That is CTBT for you. Is India a member of CTBT? No. India is not a member of CTBT either. India is not a member of CTBT either. Yes, finally, I'm also becoming a dictator because everybody in the world is a dictator now. So India is not a member, and India is not a member because why is India not a member? Because India feels it is discriminatory and it does not guarantee any time-bound nuclear disarmament. But there's another interesting thing, bacha, here, that CTBT has not even entered into force yet. Yes. Did you understand? CTBT has not even entered into force yet because some of the major countries have not ratified CTBT. So it is not enforced. Very clear. Did you understand the difference? After today's class, no more confusions. NPT should be very clear to you. What's the main idea? Nuclear and non-nuclear states. 1967, highly discriminatory. India is not a part. CTBT totally prohibits any kind of nuclear weapon either for military or for peaceful purpose. Came in 1996, never implemented because it lacks ratification by most countries. India not a member. India says it is very discriminatory. Very discriminatory. That's what India says. Correct. Yes. Quickly and why? That's true, Kritik. What a lovely and what an interrogative question there. But then we know our Smiling Buddha project. It was kicked off at Pokhran. But what was the timeline for that? When did India did do its nuclear test? You should see that also. And interestingly, when India did the nuclear test, many countries were not happy with India, by the way. Even America was not very supportive. America said India should have respected NPT. India should have respected the whole big idea about CTBT. India should never have conducted any kind of a nuclear test, even if it was for peaceful purpose at Pokhran. Why? Because absolutely it is a monopoly. Most of the developed countries would never want to extend nuclear power outside the P5. Today, things are changing. Today, things are rapidly changing. Pokhran 1 and Pokhran 2, India did that. But America was not supportive of that. America kept saying India has defied the protocol of NPT, and India should not have done that. But India said, why do you stay like that? India needs its own security. I mean, today, if India is a nuclear power, that's the only thing that keeps us strong in the face of enemies like Pakistan or China. Both are nuclear powers. Is it even safe today to survive in a world with two nuclear power neighbors without having any of your own? Not possible. So, India's position has been very valid here, that although now I am not doing any kind of test because India maintains a voluntary moratorium. India willingly controls itself. India is a peaceful state. So India would never want to provoke. But at the same time, developed countries imposing CTBT or NPT selectively on some countries is very unfair. That's what India says. And valid enough. Yes? Very good. Who said Democratic Republic of North Korea? Who feels it is a democracy? Who wants to travel? Okay. Last question for the day. With reference to Global Nuclear Arms Control Agreement, consider the following statements. 1. The NPT legally recognizes only those countries that tested nuclear weapons before 1st Jan 1967 as NWS. Second, the CTBT has entered into force and it prohibits both military and peaceful nuclear explosions worldwide. And 3, Strategic Arms Control Reduction Treaty, including the New START Treaty, focuses on limiting deployed strategic nuclear warheads of America and Russia rather than preventing nuclear proliferation. Well, there is a mild case of split verdict here. But as I see, majority students would prefer C as the answer, including Apex, Diya, Hika, Rajneeshwar, Urupam, Vikash, Shakti, Ashish, Saurav, Reshma. Everyone is saying it's C. Why? Why is everyone saying it's C? Why everyone says it's C? Is C the right answer? Should C be the right answer? Absolutely, it's the right answer. What is wrong in it? Totally correct. First statement is valid. Yes, NPT recognizes only those countries as nuclear powers who tested their nuclear weapons before 1st Jan 1967. So it's correct only. A is correct. A is correct. How can D be correct? No. Second, has it entered into force? No. What did I just say? It was created in 1996. It was created in 1996. Yes. Was it not? It was. Has it been enforced? No. Who enforced? Second part is correct. CTBT prohibits any kind of nuclear weapon for military use or peaceful purpose also you can't do. You can't do nuclear proliferation, but first part is correct. The first part is wrong. It has not entered into force. Most countries have not ratified also. Second is wrong. Second is wrong, then B and D can't be the answer. Now, what about 3? START is focusing on limiting nuclear warheads, but it is not preventing nuclear proliferation. Absolutely, it is not preventing. How can you allow only 2 countries to make limited nuclear warheads? Others are not even involved here. So then, third is correct. So C is only the right answer. Na? So why this sudden Justice Nagaratna versus Justice Vishwanath situation came? Why did you invoke the Lokpal suddenly? CTBT is not even enforced. Who wants to enforce CTBT? Who wants to enforce CTBT? It's not even in our hands. It's not enforced. So therefore, C is the right answer. Very good question. Very good question, Satya. Most of the nations who are the P5 nations, the powerful group of 5 permanent members at UNSC, had already conducted their test before that period. It's almost like a monopolizing. It's almost like creating a criteria that now that most of the powerful nations have done it, let's make sure no other country does it. And that's why they created that date. Okay, America does. Yes, AB says America does. We don't want. Very nice. Now we are almost done, but you need to travel one more place. So let's go to Oman quickly. What happened in Oman? But I will explain in 2 minutes. You have to consider the map. But don't just see the map, try to absorb the map. I do expect from all of my students that they should Even if you close your eyes, you should picturize South China, East China, West Asia. Everything should be in front of you. Everything should be in front of you. You should remember the exact position. I am planning to conduct a small test like class on an empty map where you will mark all the countries and I will just give you the vacant map. It might happen. I do feel it might happen, unfortunately. So everybody should know the map. Now on the map, you can see Oman. Everybody should be able to see Oman on the map. Remember, the left country is also oil rich, very poor. Right country is also oil rich, but rich, Oman. Yes? When you are looking at that map, then of course you have to focus on few things like what Vikash is saying. The Dukum port in Oman. The Dukum port in Oman. We all should know about it. Indian Navy has an access. Very good, Abhilash. INS Kaundinya went there. Very good, aspirant. Tankai method was used in INS Kaundinya. Two more things we have to look at the map. Look at right side. In Gulf of Oman, Strait of Hormuz. Look at left side. Yemen, Gulf of Aden, Strait of Bab al-Mandeb. Look at Iran. Can you see Iran anywhere on the map? Yes. So in Iran, near Strait of Hormuz, Bandar Abbas port, Chabahar port. Very good. Can you see Kuwait? The latest country which is now trying to support China's Belt and Road Initiative. Can we see Bahrain? Can we see Qatar? Al Udeid Air Base of America is Qatar. Can we see Israel? Mediterranean Sea, Suez Canal in Egypt, links it to the Red Sea, from Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, and all the trade finally comes to Arabian Sea, then into countries like India and South Asia. Remember that link? Mediterranean, through Suez Canal, through Red Sea, through Strait of Bab al-Mandeb, and eventually into Arabian Sea. Dilmun Makan. Very good. Proud of you. Now let's talk about what happened. What has happened is that we all understand that negotiation between America and Iran is not happening. Iran is experiencing its biggest ever civil war after 1979 Islamic Revolution. Today people are tired and frustrated of Khomeini's rule. It's a theocracy. But people want more employment and more money. Oil trade is anyway suffering, currency is reducing, falling down. Generation Z and the merchants together, they are all very unhappy. They want a new, more democratic and a more strong leader. For example, Reza Pahlavi, the last monarch family of Iran. Now, this article is saying, now the situation is that yesterday itself, there was a ship that belonged to America, Abraham Lincoln. It seemed that Iran fired a drone at that ship, but America was able to intercept that drone and protect the naval vessel Abraham Lincoln. America says we will not forget this easily, but Iran says, why is America putting its naval strength, its coast guard ships, or any kind of ship near my border? Who is America to do that? Iran is afraid because when America captured Venezuela, for the last 1 year, America was busy surrounding Venezuela with its own naval assets. Today, if any navy or any ship from America is loitering around Iran, Iran will definitely get worried. Definitely get worried. Very good question, AB. I'm coming back. Iran is worried. But there is no peaceful negotiation happening. So what is happening now? United States and Iran are negotiating on a condition that Iran will completely surrender its nuclear power, its nuclear program. And all these negotiations are taking place in another country. Where is this another country? It is right here. Oman, Dukum Port, Dilmun, Makan. At Oman, we are having these negotiations. In Oman, in a place called Muscat. I told you, the first ever global meeting on antimicrobial resistance in 2021 happened in Muscat. So from there, you can remember Muscat in Oman, oil-rich country. Lots of Indian diaspora is there. So here meeting is happening and the talks are trying to happen in a positive atmosphere. But the tensions are still there because America has recently imposed new sanctions on Iran. And then there is a military pressure that is continuing to exist, whereas countries like Saudi Arabia and Israel are watching very closely as to what happens now. These talks are very important. These talks are important because for the first time ever since this revolution has broken down in Iran, America and Iran are formally sitting and talking about Iran's nuclear weapons. Iran's nuclear issue, although remains a very controversial problem even right now. It shows continued geopolitical tension in West Asia, but there are points of disagreement. For example, Iran is saying, why are you only focusing on my nuclear program? Iran is also valid in its own way. Iran says, India, Israel are not members of NPT, but I am a member of NPT. I am a member of Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. I respect controlling nuclear weapons, then why does America doubt me? Iran says America already targeted all my nuclear sites like Ashfaya, Natanz, Fardao, Bushehr. What is remaining now? I keep opening my nuclear power to inspection by IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, and still they don't trust me. Saudi accuses me, Israel accuses me, America blames me. Yes, so Iran is right in its own way. I have declared my assets and I don't want to be attacked anymore. But America continues to belie that. America says no. We don't even know how much nuclear capacity you have. It's too much, especially in places like Fardao. It is so underground that no amount of any bombing attack is going to finish that forever. So America still senses more nuclear enrichment. Then America says Iran's ballistic missile program is equally dangerous. It's not just about nuclear power. America says Iran supports military groups like Houthi and Hezbollah. America says Iran is hurting the human rights in its country by attacking the protesters and killing them, giving them punishments like hanging. It has done nothing on the front of gender equality either. So, what role is Oman playing now? Oman is acting as a mediator. Every time there is a war between two countries, either it's a proxy war or a third country comes and mediates. Oman is trying to mediate. The talks are happening, but the talks are indirect. They are not happening across the table. They are happening through a mediator like Oman. And now what is happening? The talks are indirect. But Oman has often played this role of mediator in West Asian politics. So you never know. This time, there might be a possibility of some peace in reality. So as talks are going on, now look at the paradox. Now you will be surprised to see the paradox. If you see the map, you will understand better. The paradox is that here in Oman, talks are going on. But there on ground near Iran, what happened? America deployed a naval aircraft carrier group in West Asia. US has also continued to impose sanctions on Iran's oil and shipping network. This shows that diplomacy is one thing, but pressure is another thing. So America has a very dual strategy. Dual strategy. In English, there is a very famous phrase, the choice between the devil and the deep blue sea. Either way, you will die. That's what is happening. If you negotiate with America, still America continues to deploy naval carriers. If you do not negotiate with America, then anyway sanctions are coming on you and anyway it can attack you. So either way, it is a very tough call to find a solution. Oman can only mediate. But ultimately, it's in the hands of America more because Iran has not provoked. This time, it's a provocation coming from America. But the West Asia continues to be unstable now also, by the way. Yes, talks always break down. That depends, AB. That depends. There are many reasons, behind such things. So it's like generally mediators are countries that have a middle path. But at the same time, it also depends on who willingly wants to mediate between two other nations. Correct. Now, AB was talking about Reza Pahlavi. Of course, Reza Pahlavi is the son of the last monarch in Iran. So ideally, he comes from a monarchy family, the king and the queen family. But today, if he returns back to Iran, it doesn't mean that people are saying that we will make him our king and we will move from theocracy to monarchy. That's not what they said. They said, we want more democracy. We want a society where there is economic growth and opportunities for people. Reza Pahlavi can be a great elected leader. Agreed, he comes from a monarchy family. But we are not saying by calling Reza Pahlavi, people are saying we want him as the king. No. They are saying he can be a new next generation leader if Iran switches towards democracy, something that the Khamenei family cannot do. Did you understand the point now, AB? Okay. Yes? Yes. Yes. True. But now people are tired and they want a change of leadership. I hope it's clear. Correct. Today, theocracy, it's on its peak, and that's a paradox that Kaushik you have mentioned. Wonderful. That was all. And now, quickly, let's move towards the front page. We can't skip a quick front page news. What happened in the front page news? Yeah, the Mahsa Amini case was the trigger behind feminist revolution in Iran. Very good. Now, quickly, give me last 2 minutes, bacha. Core idea of this article, front page. Every day you and I talk about how India, China and Turkey are the largest importers of Russian Ural oil. An oil that's coming from Ural mountain, high in sulfur, but India, China can refine it beautifully. We have facilities for that. Plus, it's very cheap. Prices keep falling because of American sanctions, so it's highly affordable. And that is what gave us security. When American oil was expensive, Iran and Venezuela were under sanctions. India was using Russian oil so well last year. Now, America doesn't like that. We all know. The fact that 50% tariff came on us is because we import Russian oil. Now, today, what has happened? Owing to this American pressure, constant American pressure to reduce import of Russian oil, reduce import of Russian oil, plus the pressure of starting to buy oil from Venezuela, and India's own efforts to diversify its energy sources, the data says India's oil import from Russia has now fallen down so low, lowest for the first time in the previous 3 years. In the previous 3 years, for the first time, the lowest ever. 38-month low in December 2025. It is now about $2.7 billion only. Why suddenly all this happens? Now, according to the data, India's crude oil fell so much that it has fallen about 25% from 34% just 2 months before. That is the level of reduction of suddenly this import. Absolutely. Now, this is indicating a shift in India's oil import policy. What is the political reason behind that? Political reason is constant American pressure against buying Russian oil, against supporting Russia. Political pressure reports saying that America may reduce tariff on India from 50% to 18%. Yes, if India stops buying Russian oil. India officially has not given a clear-cut statement on that, but India does say that diversifying energy needs should be based on market conditions. It should not be based on political pressures. Why it matters today? Because India wants import diversification. You can't depend only on one country. Agreed? Russian oil is cheap, easy to receive, but that doesn't mean we only buy from Russia. We must reduce dependence on one supplier. We have to manage price risk. We have to ensure stable energy supply. Now, despite so much price fall in the last few days, Russian oil has been fluctuating too. The prices have fluctuated from 55 to say $65 per barrel. It is on the higher side also. Plus, India's own currency depreciated because of the tariff. With a weak currency, anyway, it is expensive to buy oil even after you get a discount on that. Your purchasing power declines, right? So, what happens in geopolitics here? Russia-Ukraine war will continue to happen. Its impact cannot be negated. Energy trade is linked with global diplomacy and trade negotiation. India is only trying to balance India's relations with Russia by maintaining a standard basic oil import, plus also strengthen economic relation with America. Today, even if it's blackmailing, but still if tariff can come down to 18%, it will benefit us. Our imports will increase, currency gets stable, people start getting employment. We reclaim a $48 billion market partially of America. So we will have to negotiate. It's not like we can say America is a law-breaking country, so we can ignore that. You can't ignore that. Sometimes more than principles, we have to act in geopolitics on the basis of benefit, on the basis of what really helps your country go. National interest is a bigger priority than having ideologies. So therefore, India says in order to have a good relation with America, we will not completely depend on Russia. We will maintain a balanced relation between both at the same time maintaining our energy interests. Now, West Asian oil coming from the Brent is a good alternative. It's not very expensive like American oil. It's not very sulfury like Russian oil. So that is also a good source for India to import oil. And all these free trade agreements with Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, defense cooperation, SEPA, all these are helping in the same thing. FTA with Gulf Cooperation Council, ultimately that's also about LNG and oil secure supply. So that's what India is trying to maintain, a kind of strategic autonomy in foreign policy. That's it for this article. This is the map of Russia. I forgot to show you. Now I'm showing after the article is done. Quickly have a look at the map, please. Quickly have a look at the map, please. On the Telegram, I asked a question recently about Kyrgyzstan. Did I or did I not? I asked a question on Kyrgyzstan. Very important question for prelims. It's a border in conflict. It's a border in conflict. So look at the Russian map here. Look at the overlapping territory with Eastern Europe. It is expensive. Brent is expensive, but it's cheaper when you calculate it and compare it to the Texas sweet crude oil coming from America. 16-month low means for the first time in 38 months. 38 months means almost 3 years. For the first time in 3 years, our oil import of Russia has reduced a lot. Okay. Now look at the western part of Russia, eastern part of European boundary, Ukraine. This is NATO. Look at Finland. Yes. Look at the down part, Kazakhstan. Look at the absolute eastern part, China. Then in the north, there is also this area called Kamchatka Peninsula. That's often in the news because of rich resources and frequent earthquakes. Yes. Khanjar exercise. Very, very good. Very, very good. Very good, Reshma. Very good. So that's it. And now, quickly, a last discussion. India has paid. India has completed its financial commitment of $120 million for developing Iran's Chabahar port. Where should we go? To the map, map and map. Map is what we survive on. Map. Take intellectual calories from the map. Take intellectual calories on the map. Don't worry about consuming intellectual calories. Eat them, consume them. Look at the map, bache. Look at the map, bache. Look at Iran. Look at southern Iran Chabahar port. Try to understand this is near Bandar Abbas port. Look at the Strait of Hormuz, where UAE, the small little country here, tries to poke into Iran. Look at the Gwadar port in Pakistan. Look how they are only 72 kilometers away from each other, but Gwadar is a part of China's BRI and Chabahar is a part of India's IMEC. Look at that. Yes. So what happened? India has paid $120 million to develop Chabahar port in Iran. And why was India in such a hurry? Why was India in such a hurry? India is in such a hurry because right now America, which has put Iran on sanctions, has also put sanctions on Chabahar port. No country can use Chabahar port. Otherwise, America will be angry. But until 2026 April only, until 2026 April, America has given some waiver, some relaxation on India for its trade with Chabahar. So right now, there is a relaxation going on till 26 April. India wanted to do it before that quickly. India wanted not to delay. So India has completed its payment. Yesterday, I have made a video on the channel where India has also completed its annual payment to the United Nations budget. And therefore, India was in the news. India was in the roll of honor. I told you in the current affairs class yesterday. Along with 47 countries, India was on the roll of honor of UN. Why? Because India has completed and fully on time. India has done the payment to United Nations budget. Very few countries have done, only 47. I spoke about it yesterday. Today, India has also finished the payment to Chabahar airport. What is happening? What is going on, bache? India and Iran have signed a 10-year agreement. A 10-year agreement to develop and operate Chabahar port. America has given a temporary relief, a temporary sanction waiver, relaxation for India's involvement in Chabahar, but this will expire in April 2026. So India has not taken a chance and done the full payment as it had committed to the equipment in Chabahar. Is it a political debate? Yes. Indian the Iranian ambassador says that India has not clarified any future plans about Chabahar port. Opposition leaders in India are also saying that the government may plan to exit this port soon owing to American pressure, but the government has not said that. The Indian government is still discussing the issue with America and all other people involved, all other stakeholders in the IMEC corridor, Iran as well. Why Chabahar port is so important to India? It is important, listen, because Chabahar port gives India direct access from Afghanistan into Central Asia into Europe without having to cut through Pakistan. That is why it's important for India. If Chabahar is a part of Indian IMEC, if India involves in Chabahar, India can directly reach Afghanistan, from Afghanistan to Chabahar to Europe under IMEC. India, Europe, East, that what is that? IMEC corridor, I forgot the name. India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. It's a direct access, surpassing Pakistan. Why will we want to depend on Pakistan? So it's a great thing for us to directly reach to Europe by ignoring Pakistan, by using Afghanistan. That's why we have a good relation with Taliban also. It's a strategic presence of India in the Arabian Sea area. It is a counterbalance to China's Gwadar port in Pakistan under BRI. What's the big lesson we can learn here? That this situation shows India's strategic interest in Chabahar port, but also shows the constraints created by America because of sanctions on Iran. India is trying to create a very strategic balance regarding connectivity, economic growth, oil security under global diplomatic pressures. So until sanctions are relaxed, we should make best use of the situation. In English, there is a quotation, make hay while the sun shines. And that's what India is doing. Yes, that's it from my side for the Hindu. But these are the answers. And a quick reminder, today the batch is starting for Prelims 2026 SIP course, Success in Prelims. At a price of only 4999, you will get complete GS paper 1 and CSAT coverage. If you want more discount, you could use my code SPLIVE. But remember, bacha, batch is beginning on 10th for this. And for 27, 28, there is no time now. Batch is starting today. So for those who are writing exam next year or the next to next year, again, very affordable price. Use code SPLIVE for more discounts and take professional help of all the team in your preparation. Do keep following the Telegram channel. I shall keep you updated, and I will launch a new initiative in 1 or 2 days. I will launch a poll on Telegram because your opinion matters to me. Ultimately, whether it's the Hindu class, whether it's my Telegram channel, it is every bit for my students. It's every bit for you. It's like a democracy. You make it, you use it, and I will also do only for you. So your poll, your opinion is everything here, okay? Yeah. Okay, so I'll keep that poll there. Thank you so much. God bless each one of you. Lots of blessings to each one of you. Great health, great success in life, and lots of happiness to each one of you. I'll see you on Monday right now. So take good care of yourself. God bless you, bacha. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, each one of you. Bye-bye, each and every student who's here in the class. Okay, I'll see you later then. God bless. Bye-bye.